All I remember is Parma violets and feels like I've been asleep for nearly 10 months. Well, at least I can enjoy Halloween, because it always goes so well for me after all. Time to review a game then, because that's my life, I guess.
Aha, here we go. Dr Muto on the Game Boy Advance. The perfect choice.
Mad scientists are kind of Halloween-y, right? I don't care.
Developed by Digital Eclipse and released in 2003, this is actually based around the home console version, which launched a few months earlier. That iteration, for the PlayStation 2, GameCube and Xbox, was developed by the now defunct Midway Games. You know, the company with a long and proud arcade history, but then ended up publishing Princess Debut, The Royal Ball for the DS. A truly chilling cautionary tale for us all. In any case, the home console version is considered a bit of a cult classic by many, boasting some intriguing ideas and an enjoyably off-kilter sense of humour. But that's not important. What about this GBA version? Is it any good? Why was it only released in Europe? Well, let's find out. Together.
I must first comment on the cartridge itself though, before any of that playing the game nonsense. I mean, just look at it.
It's like someone with no knowledge of graphic design created it, with the two characters and the title squidged up there at the top. Then there's this ocean of empty space. It looks like one of the thumbnails for my videos.
Truly, there can be no greater insult.
Anyway, you play as the titular Dr Muto, who destroys his home planet and must grab some various trinkets to help fix it. There are 11 levels, and in each you must collect a certain number of orbs as well as one shiny green pustule.
And yeah, those items do have proper names, but do you really want to know them? Do you really? I don't think so.
In any case, the stages are of a sprawling non-linear nature, which you must traverse by transforming into a range of creatures, with more being unlocked the further you progress into the game. There's a rat, gorilla, guppy and horsefly, and as you might expect, they all have certain abilities that you can then use to help defeat enemies and grab all the various doohickeys. The only creation that's not in this version compared to the home console iteration is the spider.
Which is just as well, because I hate spiders. I couldn't afford a spider prop. Sorry.
Dr Muto is solidly designed for the most part, if sadly lacking any real spark of inspiration. This becomes apparent long before you reach the end. You know how the latest Mario titles have the Kishu Tenketsu rule, where ideas are expanded upon just enough so that they don't get boring? Well, Dr Muto ignores that altogether, or just straight up can't be bothered with it. The amount of times you have to repeat the same thing over and over is mind-numbing, to say the least. A large part of the game involves you grabbing these robots with your spliz gun, yes, that's actually its name, and then using them to open crates or power up generators. The issue is that you can only use the robot once, so you have to keep going back and forth over old terrain. This idea, if you can call it an idea, is used repeatedly in every level, and as you might have guessed, it gets old pretty fast.
It's moments like this, waiting for these crushes to rise and fall, that you really do question all the decisions you've made to get to this point in your life.
This tedium is not alleviated by the continue system. Levels can take up to 20 minutes to complete, but if you die just once, you have to start them from the very beginning. And considering the amount of repetition there is in each stage already, well, let's just say it's not much fun. This was clearly something put in place to make sure you didn't complete the game too quickly. What also irks are the sometimes fiddly controls. Dr Muto often refused to jump for me when stationary, and I often found myself falling through certain platforms. I'm also not a huge fan of the visuals, but I can't complain too much, as they are in keeping to the style of the home console version. It just looks a bit bleh nowadays, that's all, lacking the more timeless styles of some of its peers like Lady Seer or Ninja Cop.
So, is Dr Muto an underrated hidden gem on the Game Boy Advance? No, it is not. It's just one of those strange handheld versions of a much more interesting home console game.
Sure, it's not entirely terrible, some of the platforming's actually quite fun, and the presentation is decent, with the music even composed by the legendary Alistair Brimble. Why the game only came out in Europe is a real mystery though. I contacted the developer to ask them, but they sadly didn't reply in time. Ultimately then, Dr Muto just can't escape the shadow of its home console iteration, and is therefore doomed to a lifetime of quiet obscurity.
Hey, I can relate to that. Happy Halloween to all. But I'm done with this. Maybe that's a little harsh on it.
Dr. Muto! The mad scientist, Dr. Muto! Mad scientist, Dr. Muto! The mad scientist!
The number of dead and injured has already topped 2,000.